Welcome to another OCD Recovery Instagram Live. And I've done today, this is the fourth Instagram Live in about 24 hours. And I thought I would come on here. I was just going out the door and I thought to myself, I want to speak very briefly on one of the topics that we were covering the last few days, which was hope. And the situation with hope is, if you saw the last two videos that I did on hope, where I was talking in a lot of detail all about why keeping hope alive is so key to OCD recovery, because when you have hope, there is an option, there is a chance, there is something that you can do, there is some path that you can follow, and that's key. Because what happens is, okay, of course, OCD is going to latch to that and go, well, what happens if you've lost hope? What if you're depressed? What if you don't think that there's any hope anymore? Of course, we can work on accepting that and making peace with that. But remember, like with Kirsty's video on the YouTube channel talking about acceptance isn't agreement, that's a key point there. Now, in relation to hope, the reason we have to keep hopeful in the OCD recovery journey is because OCD is going to always shut doors. It's trying to shut doors from the beginning on us. In every single way it's looking for, it's trying to shut the door on us. So our mind is, wherever we're thinking, oh, if I do this, I can, this can work to recover. It's going, but what if that doesn't work? What if that doesn't get you to recover? Whenever you're thinking, okay, in that situation, I'm still okay, I'm still at peace. It's going, well, what if you're not still at peace? What if you stay anxious forever? What if you're guilty? Every moment you try and get yourself off the hook, so-called get yourself off the hook in terms of when it relates to harm or real event OCD, what then tends to happen is we then start chasing in our mind and we start thinking, if I can get myself off the hook here, and then OCD goes, well, okay, what about if you did this? That's why we move towards unconditional self, life, and other acceptance, to get under it all together. And that's key for recovery. Now, in relation to hope, we've got to keep those paths going. We've got to keep those paths in our mind open towards a path that we're trying to get to, because otherwise what happens, if you don't do that, you're leaving yourself with all the doors shut and you're going to feel very demotivated and feel like you can't get anywhere. OCD recovery, the reason why it's felt so hopeless for so many years and why we do so much work to change that, to be all about recovery, and that's why it's called OCDrecovery.com, and that's why I bought that domain ages ago at an auction, because I wanted to make sure that people realize that recovery is possible for everyone. If you have a brain, if you have a human brain and you have OCD, you can change your perspectives on things so that OCD can't latch in the way it does. And I used to think that OCD recovery was only reserved for a few lucky people, but it's not a thing like that. It's about learning to change your perspective on things so OCD can't latch in the way it does. And I wanted to come on here and do a very sort of brief chat about hope, because often I'm thinking of different topics in relation to how I frame OCD for people, and they come to sort of, it's an idea, it's a thought pops into your head when you're going about your day. And I was just on my way out to dinner and I thought to myself, I really want to come on here very quickly and talk about hope and why it's so important to keep hope alive. You have to think of all the difficult recovery journeys there are. If you scroll through our page, you'll see so many different people with really hard scenarios. People come into me with very, very difficult life circumstances plus OCD. And then OCD is different in different people. Some people have OCD which is kind of mild, it doesn't grip so much. Or if you watched Oliver's video today where I was discussing his recovery journey, you'll see that both Oliver and myself had a very hard journey, which was very latched on, very chronic latched on guilt, very chronic latched on anxiety that didn't release and was stuck like that constantly. So when you think of these situations, when you think of these things and these circumstances, you are not alone with your circumstance. You're not in some rare situation that nobody's ever been in. You're in a situation which many people are in, but until social media came around, where humans could connect with one another and tell them what they're going through and explain what their story is and what their background is and what their thoughts are, then it became more apparent and more common, as opposed to the 18th century where you really didn't want to have OCD. It would have been pretty bleak, as you'll have seen my history post that I did recently talking all about that. So hopeful because you're living at this time, hopeful because you can see that there's a path to get better, and hopeful because you've got the resources to get better. You've got things to read, you've got things to learn, you've got so many things around you that are opportunities that were never there. In the past, they didn't know what books to read, First, they didn't know what books to read. 2, they didn't even know they had OCD. 3, there wasn't even a book. 4, there was nobody to speak to about OCD because it wasn't really known. Going back far and further enough, it was pretty much like witch doctors and things like that, which it is in lots of places like Papua New Guinea. You certainly wouldn't want to have OCD there. And a lot of parts of the world are still in the same position as the past. But we need to think about how we can get our life into a position where we have the best chances for recovery, the best chances for making progress in every way. That's what we want to be thinking about, because all the time what happens with these things, people think to themselves, my situation is so different because this one thing, if this one thing hadn't happened, then I would be fine. If this one thing hadn't happened, then I would get better. If this one thing hadn't happened, and then ... And so that is always what's happening. OCD is always looking to interject with that, if only this one thing, only if this one thing. And there is never one. There is 2, 3, 4, 5, but it doesn't show you its hand of cards until you've seen the first one, because only when you see that one does it show the next card. It doesn't reveal all of them. So every moment it's going to feel like, if only this one thing, if I did that one thing, then I would be better. Then the one's gone, then it's 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6. And that specifically latches into fear of fear. Fear of never getting better, fear of being stuck forever, fear of being the rare case, fear of being the only one who's stuck like this, fear of having some other genetic disorder, fear of not being able to grasp it like other people, fear that there was a real event in the past that caused this and that you're never going to be able to get over. Every single way it can go about, it's going to do this. It is looking for every single one of those to scream at you all day. Think about that. That is its plan. Everyone thinks that. Everyone thinks mine's a real event, so mine's different. Mine's a false memory, so mine's different. Mine's my sexuality was different, so therefore that comes into play and then alters the whole thing. Oh, what if I've got other illnesses that are then counteracting with it and making it more difficult so that I can never recover, and I stay stuck like this forever and ever and never get out of it, and my whole life's ruined because of this situation. That is what it's going to always scream. Okay, it's never going to give someone an easy route saying, oh, if you just do this one thing, off you go, do that, and then you're free. That door is not a door to freedom. That's a door shut. That's a dead end. So we have to go with that one day at a time approach towards unconditional self-life and other acceptance. Leaves all the doors open, as well as having the first door open, which is, let's give this a chance. Let's go for this. We've got one life. We've got to give this a shot. We've got to really go for this, because getting better feels so much better. Think about me, for example, when I'm doing these Instagram lives. If I had terrible OCD like I did in the past, if I had that now, I would be tired. I wouldn't be able to do these things. I would be talking, but I wouldn't be there. I'd be sort of zoned out, like I was looking through a misted sheet of glass, sort of down, sort of stuck into myself, into my head. I wouldn't be looking forward to going out to dinner. I'd be thinking, oh God, I don't even want to socialize. Might as well stay at home. That's what it feels like when you're locked in there. You're completely stuck in it and you can't get out of it. That's what it feels like. It feels all-consuming, like you're locked in this internal spider web of anxiety. Anyway, that is enough on my Instagram lives today. 4 in a day. I think I've made up for the ones that I haven't done for a few weeks, maybe a week, or I don't know, I think it was maybe 10 days or so. So I'll be back on here doing a lot more. Maybe not 4 in a day, but I'll try and be back on here in the next couple of days, do another question and answers for you guys. So I will see you all then. Take it easy, guys.